Mainstream medicine has been debating whether the hypoglycemia syndrome is real or fake for decades. In the meantime, millions of people suffer from the syndrome, the hypoglycemic syndrome, and they do not get help. The syndrome itself is capable of creating an enormous amount of symptomatology, about 60 different symptoms. So the individual that is experiencing hypoglycemias is in a lot of suffering. And unfortunately, for this type of suffering, Advaita is not the solution. The Advaita philosophy and the methods of Advaita will not give you what you need. What you need is an intervention at the level of the problem. And at that level, the solution, and the only real solution, is nutritional. Now, the fact that this solution is strictly nutritional and there is no drug out there that can really help you makes the syndrome, hypoglycemia, not interesting for the system. You know what type of industry I am talking about. They are not interested in a disease or a disorder that the only solution that is available that really works is nutritional. On the other hand, the individual that suffers this syndrome is a cow milk, because with so many symptoms, they will keep on consulting doctors and they will keep consuming different medications to help themselves. And this will go on for years and decades, all the way to the grave. Unless that individual is fortunate enough to read a book or to learn about the hypoglycemic syndrome. And at that moment, they may recognize that the symptoms they are having are coincidental with the symptoms of hypoglycemia, and then they will do something about it. They will consult with a nutritional counselor, or they will do something about it, or they will treat themselves. So that was the experience in this mind-body system. About 30 years ago, finally, after many years suffering from strange symptoms and very uncomfortable, including anxiety day and night, after a long process, I got the right book, which led to the right treatment and to the right diagnosis, because you can diagnose hypoglycemia by going to a lab and getting a very specific test. It's not the regular test that is used for diabetes. It is the full 6 hours glucose tolerance test with 100 grams of glucose at the beginning of the test. The minimum level of glucose that a human being needs to function correctly is about between 70 and 80 milligrams for every 100 cubic centimeters of blood. 3 hours into the test, this mind-body system had 40 milligrams and many symptoms right there during the test. after doing the proper diet for hypoglycemia, all the symptoms began to vanish. It was a tremendous shift, and this is a shift that you cannot attain with Advaita. You need to work it out at the right level, at the level of the syndrome. You need to work it out at the level of the physical body. The glucose helps the brain, is the energy system of the brain, is the energy source of the brain. And without glucose, the brain cannot metabolize oxygen and begins to produce many symptoms to tell you that something is very wrong. Basically, the brain is telling you, I am drowning. So if you suspect that you have hypoglycemia, because you have strange symptoms around anxiety, depression, lack of energy, insomnia, and so on, take the test or read a good book, or alternatively, begin to experiment with your diet, suppressing, removing from the diet all the simple carbohydrates, and eating often, and eating something when you feel bad, when you feel all these symptoms. By the way, Dr. David Hawkins corroborated that the syndrome of hypoglycemia is real. Using kinesiology, he checked and he found that yes, the syndrome is very real. And in fact, when a client was calling him to make an appointment as a psychiatrist, complaining about anxiety, he was telling them on the phone, but please, from now until our appointment, stop eating all sugar. No sugar. Then he said that most of his clients have had a reduction in anxiety that was very noticeable just by doing that. So when they were coming to the first appointment, they were already feeling better. This intervention, removing the simple carbohydrates from your diet, is a good intervention, but it's not enough. It is necessary, but it's not enough. You have to do much more than that. If you want a coach to help you, you can write to me. I still work in that capacity as a nutritional counselor. I have done it for decades, and I enjoy doing it. I enjoy helping people that have these type of problems.